Yeah, this is probably the best one of them that I have on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
This one. This is this one.
Wow.
It's probably early 50s.
It's a
Actually, it's
typical
probably-
green yellow thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
And it's called the Swift, is this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see it's
Jim,
got the no, yeah.
Jim, you need white cotton gloves too.
So it's got the crown back on the bamboo, and it has the woven glass.
Mm-hmm. And that was the question we stopped last time, that they had woven glass on the back and
Yeah.
linear
Linear.
on the belly. And if you know why or what the purpose maybe
Yes.
was.
And this is the original linen string that came with it. So
Oui.
it's a linen string. So
Mm-hmm.
the grip is mule skin.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Interesting.
So the glass goes up the back. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the boxed in lamination, which is typical of Dill. Maple. A lot of people think they did maple in the risers, but myrtle in the risers, but they're mainly maple.
Mm-hmm.
Maple in the risers.
Jim,
But, yeah.
Jim, I have to say, I have a very similar bow. Also, but I don't think it's a real made by Howard, but it has black glass, also that woven glass, and white glass on the belly, and also the glass running over the grip, and also the crowned limb and so on. And this what they call leaf spring. You know, one lamination is fades out in the kind of middle of the limb. I don't know.
Yeah, this
And
one
also
like
with a
that.
maple handle. That's why I say it. Also with a maple handle.
Is it called something? Does it have a name on it?
It had no name on it. I wrote sweetheart on myself
Okay.
and Howard Hill, but it is a Howard Hill bow.
Mm.
Let me see if I find it.
Not made by Howard, most probably. Yeah.
Well, I don't believe this was probably made by Howard. It was probably made by the Stotler brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you told us last time exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But under his guidance,
there's a lot of guesswork comes into the Howard Hill stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've been involved in it all my life. The Howard Hill stuff, 60, you know. And the more you dig in, the less you know.
Yeah, he says usually. Yeah.
Because nothing was written down. So the more you dig in, trying to find actual tangible information, there isn't any. You know, there's just a bunch of guesswork from people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would think that after Tembo, which was early 1950, 1951, 1952 when he came out, but 1950, 51 is when he was filming it. I doubt if he made any bows for anybody else, but somebody knew him very, very well.
Only his best friend.
Because he became a millionaire. Yeah, because he became a millionaire through movies. So that's what I get my information from. I kind of look at it. If I'm a multi-millionaire, would I build somebody a bow, or would I need to build somebody?
Yeah, exactly. You only do it because you want to.
But the thing with these bows he was actually around when they built these.
Yeah, exactly.
All the stuff apart. When these bows were built, Howard Hill was still in his early 50s. So he was around when these bows were built.
Nice.
So he cast his eye on these bows. So that's probably as close as you can get.
Possibly get, yeah, exactly.
And I also think the bowers back then had a lot of respect to make good bows because they wore his name. No?
Yes.
Look, Jim.
I think so.
You see the bow with this glass?
No.
Why not?
Oh, I can see it now. Yes. Okay.
You see, with a maple handle.
Yeah.
And also the crowned.
What's it sitting on the other side?
Pardon?
Is it a serial number on that side? Is it?
Yes. I rewrote it. I re-inked it, but it was 6864. I don't know.
So from best guesstimates, there was a few people made bows that had serial numbers on before Howard Hill Archery became Howard Hill Archery as we know it in the early 60s. So it could be a 1960 bow, it could be a 1959 bow, but it certainly was in that era before they started putting the badges on. They started to put a silk screen, not a silk screen, a water transfer on there that had the Howard Hill Archery badge.
Yeah. I suspected maybe it was one of those Ben Pearson Howard Hill bows. I don't know. Yeah, I think Ben Pearson also offered Howard Hill bows for some time. I don't know. One guy I made pictures and so.
I have an old Ben Pearson bow that looks like a Howard Hill, but it's not a Howard Hill bow. It's Ben Pearson. It would have Ben Pearson written on it. If Ben Pearson made it, it would have Ben Pearson's
written on it.
On the stick bow leather wall, you know, that board. I posted some pictures and one guy said this one was made by Dale Phillips. I don't know.
Now I'll show you what a Dave Phillips looks like.
Okay. There's a lot of back set. A lot of back sets. You see?
Maybe a little, yeah, not so much.
It's a lot.
Is this a lot for a Howard Hill bow?
That one has a lot. I can. Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is a decal before they started doing it. And it is very wide and flat.
Okay, that's not like
the stuff over the back.
It's not like that one.
This has a walnut handle on it for whatever reason. It's got the crown back, but it's very wide and flat. Not like the Stotler ones are slim and thick. These are very wide and flat. And I'm not sure if that Phillips or Phelps or whatever the guy's name was, there was Jim Darley made some of them apparently. I don't know. Again, nobody wrote this stuff down.
Yeah,
so
the problem.
It's these guys made bows for Howard Hill Archery in this period of time. Who made what? You know, that one that you've got there.
I think he doesn't hear you right now. Wait a second until he has his earphones on, but otherwise he won't hear you. Now he can.
I think. Sorry to interrupt. I think I got one of those too. That signature looks very similar.
Yeah, but this is a decal. This is a decal.
I don't know. Look, here's also some very interesting handle wood. Brown on the belly.
Yeah.
And green woven.
Green glass.
But wide and flat.
And as you say, very wide and flat.
Right. So this is like right at the beginning, 1960-ish, from what I can figure out. I think the other one that he showed us before was the one before this.
Right before.
And look
so I've heard other people's names, but I can't bring them to my mind.
Look what one guy did to this bow.
Well, he needed a stabilizer. Bow fishing, probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Bow fishing bow.
A beautiful bow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the person shooting them.
Yeah.
And you prefer more the narrow ones or the wide and flat ones?
I like the narrow ones that follow the string a little bit. You know, that's what I like the better. They seem to shoot a little bit better for me. We make them on a flat former and let them naturally follow the string.
Are they maybe?
Which is this string follow seems to be a bit of a misnomer to me, and everybody's got their opinion. And my opinion is that Howard Hill was talking about getting rid of some of the very heavy back settings bows. So as he made his bows, me and Dad saw some in the early 80s in Alabama that had 3-inch reflex in them.
Oh, okay.
So I think he's more like he's talking about if that follows the string, it will shoot better, which we all know it will. It won't. If it doesn't have 3-inch of reflex, and it ain't gonna knock the hell out of you. So I don't think he talked about it building a bow with string following to start with. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that seems to be the trend right now, to build it into the bow.
Yeah.
And they shoot very sweet. I have one from Nate Steen and one from Pete George at Timberline. Very nice shooting bows. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't, but I think it's a misquote from Howard Hill. I'm not saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is I don't think that's what Howard Hill was talking about. I think he was talking about trying to get rid of some of that heavy reflex in his bows. If it follows the string, he likes to shoot them a little better when they've got than when they have 3.5-inch of reflex.
I don't know if I'm right, Jim, but I think this idea from the string follow quotation from Howard Hill stems from John Schultz, if I'm right. No?
You know, I don't think again, it's there's so many people throwing their opinions in the hat. I don't know, you know.
But is it not true that John Schultz came up first with these naturals, where he argued for the string follow designs, and Howard said these are the best, is the best design, and so.
Oh, that might be true. That might be true, but that's not what Howard Hill meant. But the naturals of John's actually followed the string because they're wood bows. You know, a wood bow will follow the string more. You should know that. You know, if it's a wood bow, you better put as much reflex in that bow as you can, because he's going to go. He's going to disappear.
And because we talk about this, I don't know if this is true. They said when Frank Eichholz came up with guest bows or putting gas on bows, Howard took his favorite bows to him and he guessed these bows. I can't imagine it, because if this bow had, I just say 65 pounds or 85 pounds, and you put gas on, it would increase about 10 pounds at least, no? And so on. And I also let me finish.
But the numbers aren't right.
Okay. And also, if these were wooden bows Howard used before, and you put then gas on, you would have a string follow bow, no? Because if these bows were in use and we were bamboo bows, maybe, then you say, okay, put gas on these bows. This would be, no?
It depends if it was a new bow with reflex in before they put the glass on. I don't know if it was a new bow or an old bow. I don't know. I don't know, Pete. I've read about as much as I can of Howard Hill stuff, which is not a lot. It's easy to get. There's not a lot of it. And he writes that he went to Frank Eichholz, or Frank Eichholz called him, whoever, whatever. I think Howard Hill was a guy that Eichholz knew made bows. So they got together and he put glass on the back of his bow, like you would do instead of
a backing, yes,
baleen or
Fortisane, or how was it called?
Exactly. So they put fiberglass on and he liked it. So the writing says, so Howard then goes back to Frank Eichholz, and you're right, it would probably put the weight up of that bow, just because it changes the surface tension for the better, maybe 5 pounds. Maybe.
Okay.
So he went back and he got glass put on the belly of it because he liked it that much. That's what it's written down. That's the story. Well, that's where the story falls apart, because you build bows, you build a 30-pound bow and you put glass on the back and it's 30 pounds. If you put glass on the belly, it's now 60 pounds. It will double the weight of the bow. Well, the glass on the belly, the surface tension of that.
Of course.
So if Howard was shooting 80-pound bows, all of a sudden it's now 160 pounds. I don't think so.
And as you said, I think first,
I just don't think so.
First, they used it as a kind of protection from breaking, just on the backing, because so your favorite bow won't break so easy.
Sure.
Yeah. But maybe Frank Eichholz told him when you want to have glass on the belly, then you would double up your draw weight. So maybe he built then a bow which didn't have 80 pounds. Maybe it has 60 or 50 pounds.
But
You
that's
never-
not the story that's written down. The
Okay.
story is that he takes it back and he puts like so.
Okay.
You know, did Howard
Yeah.
write the story? Did Howard tell somebody the story and then somebody wrote it down? You know,
And,
there's a lot of-
and if he wrote it, was it true? We don't know.
I don't know. I know. Yeah, like I said, all the people involved are dead. So
Jim, Jim, I don't know where I got this, and I think from Nate Steen, and he told me that Howard had a special shaped sanding device. So he sanded out the soft fibers, and only I think John Lee also is an advocate for this you know, this rounded bamboo, and then they filled the hollow belly with some stripe of wood or so.
Dave Miller has a machine to do that.
Mhm.
Dave Miller actually built himself a machine, had one built, whatever. So I know Dave can do that. I've looked at a lot of Howard Hill bows and other bows. I've not seen that. The only time I've ever seen it is on a Dave Miller bow or a piece that John Lee carries around. But I've never really seen that in a bow. I've not seen it in a bow.
Okay.
But there was also, they said what they would do, what Howard would do, would grind the belly out, grind the pith out of the belly, grind the nodes off the back, and then steam the bamboo and
Flatten it.
Okay,
onto a piece
okay,
of aluminum.
so you won't see it.
So-
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that makes sense to me. So you get all the power fibers in a flat lamination.
And is it possible to steam bamboo like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not the boyer.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
Okay,
steam. You can
okay.
steam any kind of. It's grass. It's
Okay,
bamboo. It's grass.
okay.
It's not wood. But you can
Okay.
steam anything. I don't know. I've never done it. I don't know if it would separate the fibers or not. I don't know. I've never done it.
I don't know too.
I've tempered bamboo. You can temper bamboo and it'll tighten up to a
Yeah.
point. I mean, it doesn't. It's not the. You know, it works. You know.
What is your opinion on Nate Steen's method to putting a center glass in the hillstyle bow? You know, he has 3 laminations of glass. I don't know
Yeah.
if he still makes it, but I have 2 bows they are made like that.
He's not the first to do it. Don Brown made them like that too.
Mhm.
Don Brown made the same bow. Oh, I don't remember, 90s. He was making.
And what is the argument for?
Well, it gives you a core that's.
I
it's a
think
neutral
Nate.
core, so it's not really going to affect the weight of the bow much, but it will give you a very strong construction because it's fiberglass. You just put a super straight linear fiberglass core to that bow. You know, it's
Nate, I think Nate said it prevents from torquing, but I don't know if this is a big problem in a very narrow bow. I can't imagine. I don't know.
I don't know. They argued that with Don Brown's bow by him putting a 1 in the core. It works. I don't know.
It adds
mean,
weight.
I think fantastic that people, whoever they are, try something new. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's great, man. I ain't got no problem with
No,
that.
it's okay to me, but I always thought it adds weight to the limb, and so.
Of course, sure. There's it's a lot heavier than bamboo for sure. You know, it's a lot heavier than you for sure.
And if the 2 sheets of glass are working for a lot of bowers, I don't know, but I like Nate's idea, and I like Nate as a person, of course.
Yeah, I talked to Nate last week. Yeah, I talked to Nate.
That's what you said last
He's a
week.
good guy. I don't know if we ever talk about designs. We talk about design to a point, I think, because we do a lot of similarity stuff, me and him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm building, well, he's gonna build me a bow and then I'm gonna build him a bow. So
Nice.
Oh, that's
we'll
good.
see, we'll see what happens there.
He's a nice guy. He's an absolute nice guy. But because we talked about glass a lot, we didn't talk it to the end with this linear and woven glass thing.
Yeah, this woven glass, I've been doing some experiments with getting the woven glass over the crown on the bamboo. And I believe it was put on after the fact.
Because you could
I
use
don't-
the woven for the ground design. That was the cause?
Yeah, I think it was put on and then the whole piece was put onto the bow. I think I think if I'm working on it right now. I've tried to do it on the bow and it's a real pain to try and glass the back of the bow successfully. My next experiment will be with the crown on the back and then glue the whole thing on the back of the bow.
And this woven glass is still around?
Well, yeah, you can buy weave. You can buy weave and then you make your own matrix, which I've got some, it's epoxy for airplanes. So you're making a canvas airplane. You use this it's super strong.
Yeah.
So and then I just dye it to this green and that's what I've done. And you can make it home. And you can buy it whatever thickness you want.
Okay.
The toe is whatever, so just found it very similar to this knit pattern. And yeah, I've worked on it. Been working on it a little bit. So I just want to, I like the look of this crown back bamboo. I like the look of it.
Yeah.
I've shot all the bows. I've shot a lot of people's bows and they shoot very similar. A hill style bow shoots very similar. You can't say one is, oh, this one's so much better.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe you can get that much better from this design. You make this riser, this lip, this core is going to shoot pretty much very similar. What's great is other people's interpretation, how they grind the handle and stuff they put in, and like me, he's going to run a piece of glass through it. That's great, man.
I always say to people, a Howard Hill style bow is a kind of like a Formula One car. There's just a handle you need to hold the bow, and all the rest is energy, is motor, is engine, is leverage. And
it's leverage.
What I like.
And the glass front and backs changes the surface tension of wood bows. Wood bows are wood bows. Once you start putting backing and facing on them, the surface tension changes, and that helps the bow completely. It changes the bow. That's why you get so much more performance out of them. They last so much longer, and they're a lot easier to build.
Yep.
Making a wood bow is a guessing game in a lot of ways.
And what's your thing about arrows? Arrow wood, or what is important to you?
It's hard to beat a Port Orford cedar arrow. Them guys got that right. They just fly.
Yeah.
They out of the hill style bow. There's nothing fly better than a wooden arrow. And the metal arrows fly good. The carbon arrows fly good, but they don't fly like a wood arrow.
Yeah.
The wood arrow climbs out of that bow. He just climbs right out of that bow and wants to come.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And because we talked before about it, I told it to Armin. I don't know if they are still available. Back then, when I started archery, I had some, they were black glass fiber arrows, I think made by Gordon.
I think it was. I have some, and they had like whatever the number was, and
I think it was the Eastern coat, kind of like the Eastern arrows. The spine coat were these were wonderful arrows. The some I had, they flow like wooden arrows.
Yeah, I've got some.
Yep. Are they still around?
Boy, I haven't seen fiberglass arrows for a long time, but I bought a few.
These are nice shafts. Nice shafts. Yeah.
They're great for shooting pigs with. You want to go hunting pigs? That's tough.
Yes, and they are very heavy and tough. Yeah. And we talked about with Byron Ferguson, we talked about spine and and because we had that story that Howard Hill shot chooses arrows by shooting them long range in a cardboard box and so on. And so we talked about, didn't they had spine testers back then in Howard's days, or when this spine testing came up, or I don't know.
I'm not sure what some of the, I don't think so. I think they had some very early, they must have had some early spine testers of some sort. I think Hill was on the back end of like Pope and Young too, where a lot of the dowels came from furniture makers. There was nobody really making arrow shafts per se. So they would grab X amount of, dowels, put some feathers on and shoot them, and where they grouped up, that's how they spine their arrows. They must have been able to do it by test, or they must have had something to get them in the ballpark.
Byron said that he flexed them by hand and that's I believe that maybe. Too. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. If you have a lot of experience.
Yeah, you can do that. When I was working in Sylt for this friend in Yuxak, he always bought a box of cheap, completely mixed spined arrow shafts for the range. And then he said that now you need to spine them all. And I said, okay, make 3 boxes, weak, middle, stiff. So that was always plus minus whatever 10 pounds, but it was fine. So you get a feeling for it.
And if you then do this cardboard box test, what they said Howard did, it will work. And if you miss, you shoot that arrow again. Okay, maybe it's okay. I can imagine that. Yeah,
I can imagine that too. It was early days. You're looking at the archery industry in America, which is the really largest archery market. It is what it is. The 50s is when it kicked off properly.
But
50s and 60s.
But is it? But Jim, is it possible that because you're an Englishman, that the English had no spine testing? They had a long tradition of arrow making and bow making and so on. So they had no device to spine test their shafts. I don't know.
They must have had. My dad made his own. So I don't know anything. Dad put 2 dowels on the wall at 26 inches on center, and he made himself a 2-pound weight. And then he put a level line across there and went down 500 spine, and that was a 1/2 inch in thousandths. And that's what he did. He read it somewhere, and that's what he did. But later on in time, he bought some metal arrows and went off the Easton chart. If this 2020 was 60 pounds, that's what he marked on there, to 60 pounds. He did that too.
But back then, that old English archers, how did they?
Well, how far are we going back?
You choose. You decide.
Everybody wants to go back to the 100-Year War. They always want to call them the war bows, which were not really. They used a medieval longbow that they took to war with them. The dowels were so heavy they probably didn't bend. They were 1/2 inch old.
They were like a thumb, and so there were no question about spine.
No, and the thing with the English longbow is the guys weren't lined up saying, I'm going to shoot the guy with the red hat on. They just saturated the battlefield. So it didn't matter if they flew a little funky. They didn't really care. They were just shooting them into a mass of people. So the spine value and super straight arrows probably wasn't high up on the list of, I'm sure they had a way to select arrows. Of course they did. They're archers, and you just naturally do it yourself,
And that's what I wanted to say, because we don't know even these findings from the Mary Rose, from the ship and so on. You don't know if these arrows were completely ready for use, or if the archers shaved them down a little, or to match their bow. You don't know.
Well, I think again, the ones I saw from the Mary Rolls were made out of black poplar.
Mhm.
Them are the ones I saw. And they were sticking big around as your thumb, half-inch or
Yeah.
better.
Mhm.
And again, I think they were just to shoot at people. I don't think they really cared
Mm.
Yeah.
about, I
Yeah.
just think if they were in a hostile situation, they shot what they had.
Mm.
I mean, maybe on the Sunday you're out with your buddies shooting, maybe you have a little set arrows that shoots better than any, that's where you use them. But
And the second
I
thing is, we don't know if these, like you say, Jim, if these all were real master archers or just auxiliary troops. Some farmers, they put the bow in their hand and say, "You shoot in that direction. Just
Sure.
shoot."
Mm.
you see them guys over there try and hit them.
Yeah.
Again, I think they developed into a organized army and organized archers down the road, but I'm sure he started off like that.
Mm.
I think so.
It's just like how heavy were the English longbows? They were heavy, 120, 140 pound bows, certainly not more than that, but not everybody had a 32-inch draw.
Mm.
Some
Yeah.
people had 28, some people had
That's
29, some people had a 27. They
That's
didn't
what-
care. They were saturating the battlefield with arrows.
that's what I also thought about that standard English arrow, and so that cloth yard shaft. I don't know how they called it, and they had a
Well,
standard, I think, 31.5 inch or so length. So
Sure.
you will cover all draw length.
Everybody shoots it. Everybody
Yeah.
shoots it.
You won't draw just a few who would draw more,
Yep.
and the rest of it can use them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, the best archers believe that they knew who the best archers were, and they put the best archers in the best place.
Mhm.
And the king probably had the best of the best.
Mm.
Like today's snipers, same thing. No?
Yep.
Yeah.
The best of the best was around the king, and you siphon that from there.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah.
You get people thinking you want to be on this medieval battlefield. I would think that's the last place you want to be is on a medieval battlefield, even if you had a longbow. I don't think that'd be a place for you to be.
And I think, Jim, because you say the king chose the best of the best, I think that's the core of this Robin Hood story. When the king makes a tournament to let the archers compete, and he offers Robin Hood a job in his guard, in his security guard or so. So maybe all these tournaments, they were now for sport, were a selection of the best archers to
Could be.
be in the king's,
Yeah.
close to the king.
You don't want Bobby at the back that can't even throw a ball straight to be your guard, do you? You want the guys that can protect you. So it's, the arrows. Again, the best would have the best arrows and they'd be filtered down. The best would have the best bows and they'd be filtered down.
And the best archers, they will be more picky on arrows than the farmer boy, of course.
The farmer's boy get what's left over. So the good
probably.
ones select first what works for them, and the rest goes to the foot soldiers.
Well, right. The people can afford the best arrows have the best arrows. The people who can do the best they can with what they have. Same thing. Doesn't change. But I don't know the English longbow stuff. It was pretty devastating. Was the English longbow, but so was the Saracen stuff. They were pretty devastating. So were the Mongols. They were all pretty. Yeah. Well, it was the AR-15 of the day. They just wreaked havoc with them. If you didn't have a bow and arrow and you had a sword, you were.
And more so if you are. And more so if you are able to surprise your enemy with your abilities or your weaponry. If they don't think about, maybe there are no archers, but then there are archers and so on.
Yeah, the English longbow would probably shoot just like today's bows won't shoot any different than the old English longbows of the back in the day. They were heavyweight, heavy arrows. They will throw a battle arrow down the field 225, 250 yards.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to get hurt at the other end. That's just the way it is.
Exactly.
You know?
That's the whole
Yeah.
purpose of it.
Right.
I
And it
saw
was the same with everybody else's bow. They'll shoot 250 yards roughly.
Yeah.
Today.
Jim, I don't know the name of the museum, but I saw a very nice over an hour clip on YouTube where a guy goes to an English museum and they talk especially on archery in the 100-Year War and so on. And this guy said they had diaries from French, from the enemies, soldiers and knights and so on. And they said this mass firing we see in the movie, you know, that big arrow storm, it
Yeah.
was used, but they said in most cases they shoot not so long range, but about 50 meters or 40 meters from the flanks into the battle, and they just shoot at the open visors and the joints, you know, the gaps
Into the armor.
in the armory. So they were kind of like snipers, they said, and they don't just know it from the diaries and the narrations, but also how the armory was to deflect. So they said the armory was not built to deflect an arrow and incoming from heaven, from above, but the helmets were different, and also this deflection. I don't know.
Sure. Well,
Very
the
interesting.
knights-
Very interesting.
The knight's armor would deflect them arrows from a long way away. You know, if you were shooting at maximum distance, them arrows probably wouldn't penetrate the armor. But if it gets stuck in a horse,
They never penetrated.
but if it gets stuck in a horse,
Mm.
Yeah.
and if that horse goes wild and you're on the back of it,
Yep.
you get
Yeah,
thrown
yeah,
off. You
yeah,
ain't
yeah,
getting
yeah,
back
yeah.
on a horse with armor on.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And
you're done.
the longer the range is, the more the target can do to raise his shield. He sees the incoming arrow.
Right, but I think the biggest thing with the arrow, with the archers, and it doesn't matter which part of the world, the Chinese, it doesn't matter who was fighting with bows and arrows. When you got hit with an arrow, doesn't matter where you got hit with the arrow, you were done fighting for a couple
Yep.
of days until you got over that, maybe a week. Battles were fought and won and lost in hours.
Yeah.
So it was such a devastating weapon. You didn't
Yeah.
really have to kill a
Yeah.
bunch of people. You just
Yeah.
have to get an arrow into you somewhere. You know?
We talked about in one of the last shows, and I don't know where I got it, but it was a kind of diary of a surgeon, of a doctor in the Indian Wars in the United States. And he said, if a soldier was, a cavalry soldier was hit by a bullet, he fought on. But if he was hit by an arrow, he stopped instantly fighting because the arrow was protruding out of his body, and he sees, oh, heaven, I'm hit, and so on. So I believe he said it was more of a psychologist devastating thing to get hit by an arrow, even if it's just a
Yes, doesn't matter where
harmless
you're
hit.
hit.
Yeah.
Wherever you're hit,
Yeah.
you're done fighting, and that's all
Yeah.
they needed to get you out of there. That's what they were trying to do, get your ass out of there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of this stuff is not. I remember reading about a squire, an English squire, and I think he was talking about Agincourt, pretty sure. And I don't believe he wrote it down, but probably one of the church people wrote it down. He could write. And he said when they were shooting full belt, it looked like it was snowing.
Mhm.
That's what it looked like.
Mhm.
Looked like it
Yeah.
was snowing.
Yeah.
And he was from the English side watching it go in.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Maybe both things are true.
Yeah.
So when you're in a long range to the enemy, you make this arrow rain, and when the battle really starts, they shoot inside from the flanks, and of course,
Yeah, I would think you'd want to slow the cavalry down as best you can. I would
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
if it was me, I'd like to want to start slowing people down so you have time
Yeah.
to react.
and causing
Um,
chaos in the formation, causing chaos in the
Exactly.
formation. Yeah,
Yeah, get them all. Get
yeah.
'em all in
The
a-
horse get mad and everything. Yeah,
Even if you only shoot the horses and they fall on the floor and whatever in the first line, you need to
Yeah.
then find your way through, so you really slow the enemy down.
And if the horse is suffering, even if not a devastating hit, but if they're suffering from a wound, the horse will get crazy and yeah.
Kill a few people on the way out.
So the formation is destroyed then.
Yes, exactly, and that's what it was. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like the guy that said it was snowing. Was he stood right in front of the main body of archers? He wouldn't have been able to see the whole battlefield, probably not.
Yeah.
You know, it's all subjective, but
Yeah.
again, it will be a place not to be. It will definitely a
As,
place.
I don't know
not
how they call it in English, but in German we would say a disturbing fire, like with a machine gun. You maybe you don't hit anyone really damaging, but you're disturbing. You're doing something to the enemy. Yeah. Yeah.
But even the sound of a lot of arrows, we do sometimes here at the range roofies, and then you can stand close to the target, and when you see then only 10 arrows incoming, this sound they make, you almost shit your pants already. And now imagine this times 100 ongoing. You freak out if you're not really settled and whatever, but then you freak out and you run.
And
But I think Genghis Khan and them guys used to shoot whistling arrows for that reason.
also the Chinese and the Japanese, I think they had whistling, like the Stukas in World War II.
Right, the Stukas,
For one thing, they were made for orders, for commands. So when they, then you know, okay, now it's time to attack or something. But of course, even for enemy, imagine a foggy day, you don't see anything, and then whatever 100 of these whistling arrows come in.
Right, it's got to freak you out a little bit because you know what's coming.
Exactly, and you don't know from where and what's going on, and you go crazy and you run. And it's always psychological warfare first.
And because we talk about warfare and battles, what's also interesting, I always had another view on that thing, but that an arrow would penetrate real armor. In most cases, not. I was in a television, a kind of television production, and they shot with a crossbow with 1,800 pounds and a real bolt, you know. There was nothing done to that cuirass, to that armor.
But you got to remember also how many people really had armor. How many people could afford armor.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that didn't have armor.
Yeah, then of course,
Right, so again, it's all the people that, well, the only people that could afford the armor were the knights. They just get overpowered anyway with people.
The best of the best had the armor, the rest had nothing.
Right.
Yeah. What is interesting, because we talk about war, I never thought about that.
Well, do you want to talk about your divorce?
Yeah, War of Roses. Back then, war was a thing between the aristocrats, between high-ranking persons, and they had mercenaries and soldiers of fortune, and they fought against. What I didn't know, just Napoleon Bonaparte invented, you know, that the how is it called, Wehrpflicht in English? You know that you have to go to the military if you're a citizen.
Yeah, conscription, they call it.
Conscription, yes. And before it was kind of more mercenaries and that, and the knights fought against each other. And so not the farmer would be, yes, if they plundered him and looted him, he was also damaged. But interesting thought that just Napoleon invented that thing. Every young guy has to go to the military, so we have a lot of soldiers.
It's not a bad thing.
No. But back then it wasn't like that.
No. And most archers were mercenaries anyway. They didn't get paid a lot, and they could take what they found on the battlefield if they won. If you were on the winning side. Right.
You know, in Austria we have this how you call it? You have to go to the military.
The conscription or national service.
Yeah,
what they called it in Britain. Conscription's over here. National service is in Britain.
But you know what? I'm sure it's more than 50% they do a kind of other, you can choose to go to the military or you go to the, you know, how is it called? Emergency
Something,
car driver or
Oh, ambulances and.
yeah,
the ambulance
ambulances
service.
or to nurse old people in a nursing home or so. And most choose this because weapons are bad and just peace is wonderful.
I liked my time. I had 15 months there, and I learned from the 9mm pistol to the machine gun, everything. I liked it.
To polishing your shoes, you learn
Of
everything.
course, you learn that too. You to march in a line and all this
Well,
stuff.
it's good. If it gives you, it gives you some organization on the way to, or it's not a bad thing. You take whatever you want out of it.
And I think it's also good because you learn a kind of hierarchy, you learn logistics and that, and nowadays the children coming from school and say, oh, nobody has to tell me something, I'm just an individual, and so, and it's an opposite thing today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. I didn't know you did that in Austria. Is it still the same?
I think so,
You
yeah.
still have national service of some sort.
Yeah.
Germany too, no?
Germany too, yes.
Yeah.
The change, sometimes it was 15 months and it was 18 months or something, but still there.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Good thing. It's not national service.
but only our military is back from World War II from the technical side.
Oh, really?
In Germany, it's
Driving
not,
Tiger tanks.
in Germany, it's not
Today
military. We are called Bundeswehr. That means we only protect the country. So we are not there. We would not be able to attack anyone. So we're only here just in case the Russians will come, that we stand there with our guns and slow him a little down. But this is the whole purpose. So it takes half an hour longer until he's in France. But this is the whole purpose of the German army.
Today in the radio, I told it to Armin before, I heard Austria owns 9 Black Hawk helicopters. You know?
That's all?
Yes, and just 3 of them are working. 6 are out of duty.
It's
so
a good thing, you know. You know, my grandfather, he had 3 Mercedes standing around. One was working and the other 2 were for parts and stuff, you know. If you needed a carburetor, then get it from
Jim, I wanted to show to Armin and you something, because since some time I have the idea, I like to make a kind of a bowman action figure, you know, like my outfit is with the red scarf and the hill style bow and so on. And so I started working on it, and I had a very nice Howard Hill bow made by John Schultz for Paul Brunner. I'm sure you know also Paul Brunner. He was.
I remember Paul. I used to see him at the Great Lakes longbow shoot.
Is he still alive?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
For a long time. I don't know.
It
He
was
went to live in New Zealand.
look. It
Last
was
time I knew about Paul Briller. He went
a wonderful ram killer was the name on the bow. A wonderful bow, very narrow, very John Schultz. And I had a famous archery shop owner, and he said he's a bower too. His name was Alois Zopf, and I gave this bow to him and said, "Can you reproduce one for me, like this bow is?" And he had a home in Hungary, and he lied to me. He said he is making these bows, but he had an Hungarian bower. So 2 weeks later, this Alois Zopf came by and said, "You see, your bow is broken." I said, "What? It's from the 1970s. I shot it. Paul Brunner shot it. A lot of people, and now it's broken." Yes, it's okay. What turned out is the Hungarian so-called bower strung it the wrong way. So
it started drawing it, and then
it broke here at the arrow shelf. It's a thing you had to cry for, but now it's the good story. And then I thought, for this action feature, I have to make a bow. So I cut one of these Howard Hill bow limbs, and you see,
No.
All right, cool.
I made a very cool bow.
Nice.
I have to make a second one because here was in the bamboo, you see there was a crack in the bamboo.
Mm.
So I have to make it again because it's so narrow, it's so hard to do. But
Jim saw it
Yeah.
directly that the tiller is not correct.
yes, that's a real nice bow. And what I really like, and today I made this one,
Oh, yo.
Quiver.
quiver
Yes.
and an arrow.
Yeah, home defense, new home defense, because when you
Yeah.
can't have weapons.
But I'm a kind of romantic, or like the American Indians. I believe in good medicine, and if you make for a puppet a bow of a real Howard Hill
Mhm.
bow, slim, made by
Right.
John Schultz, it has some kind of spirit in it.
Mhm.
Magic, right.
Yeah,
Sure.
some kind of
Yeah.
magic. So I like this thing.
It'd be interesting to get one working and shoot that arrow somewhere.
Exactly.
I have to try, but
Mm.
there's the second blank,
Mhm.
which I made the bow from.
Yeah.
So I have to make another one because of this crack, but I know how it works.
Mm.
Right.
But,
So
but
I'm a bower too.
yeah, but the problem is when you scale it down 1/6, the cross section of the bamboo is still the same. So you would need to compress it and dense it, that you
Yeah.
get the same.
Yeah. this
Yeah,
power
and
of-
you can't do the arrows as narrow, as thin as
Mm.
they would be by scale, but
Sure.
because you can't put on the real, real. I don't see if you can see it.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah.
These are real feathers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He has too
Nice
much.
job. Cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's cool, man.
Just toying around.
Of course. We understand.
And I have some spare blanks in here, so I
Mhm.
can make more of these bows.
Right.
One question, was there ever a longbow made like the Asiatics make the bow with a wood core, sinew on the back and horn on the belly? Was ever a longbow kind of like?
Oh, I'm sure somebody, I can't think of one, but I'm sure people have done this,
Mm.
tried that. But
Mhm.
yeah, the horn on the belly and the sinew on the back makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, but on a longbow, but maybe the horn is always a little too short for a longbow. That's why they came up with the sears.
Could be.
I don't know. Maybe Jim is a good guy to ask about it. I can't. I don't believe in that theory with that sears. So when the string hits the how is it called?
String bridge.
The string bridge, so it will give the arrow additional speed or energy or so. I can't believe that the bow like that can do more like a simple, well-made longbow. What is true, if you protect a composite bow very well, you can inherit it to your son or your. So it's a high sophisticated bow, no
But-
question about. And the stick bow always will break in some time or will lose its performance.
Mm.
So it's a
Well,
higher
the
sophisticated weapon to me.
The performance over the recurve on the longbow is, the longbow cannot put the distance up the recurves can out on the salt flats in
Yeah.
Salt Lake City. So just that on its own tells me that the recurve is a lot more efficient at shooting an arrow of some sort,
Mhm.
because they do, but it's tools for the job.
Mm.
Yeah.
If you want to shoot a heavy arrow, the best is probably the hill style bow, is it?
Mm.
The
Yeah.
light arrow, the recurve shoots better. I mean, just is what it is. you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah, but-
and the record numbers of the flight shooters just
Yeah, but
bear-
in any combat situation or hunting situation, you don't need a light arrow.
no. And
But then
another
when you
thing,
need
you're
to
hunting,
defend-
you're hunting, you're shooting 20 yards, man, 20
Mm.
meters tops.
Mhm.
And they shot this York round.
Let's define quickly what is light and what is heavy. So for me, it's always a general rule of the bow, 10 grain per pound when you have these Asiatic bows, and the bowyer doesn't tell me what's the minimum grain per pound? I start with 10 grain. You have these Manchurian bows from old China. They need at least 12 to 15 grain per pound. And then you have the Turkish bows and the Korean bows. You can shoot them with 5-6 grain per pound. So what is normal for a Howard Hill bow, and what is normal then for one of these recurve bows? What is heavy and what is light?
Once you start getting to 12 grains a pound, you're starting to get heavy. For a straight end American longbow, let's put it that way. Lightweight, 7, 8 grains a pound is lightweight for that bow.
Okay.
And it's more about transferring you've got this long lever.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is transfer as much energy into that arrow. And what you're doing when you're shooting a lightweight arrow, you're just not transferring. It just doesn't throw the energy up. Yeah. It just doesn't. Yeah. So they say they've got a bunch of hand shot, but if you're shooting a 7 grain pound arrow, only X amount of energy goes down the arrow. The rest of it goes up the string and into the handle. Yeah. And as we know, the handle is not a huge chunk of anything to take up any of that residual vibration, so you get the full benefit of it. Now, if you shoot at 12 grains per pound, you probably won't feel nothing because you're getting rid of most of the energy in the arrow. So if you're shooting 10 or 12, you're on the heavy side. If you're 5, 6, 7 grains, you're on the light side.
Light side, okay.
You know, that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I only wanted to hear what you think about it, because light and heavy is quite, for many people, not a number to grab.
I generally myself, I find if I'm shooting the hill style bow, 10 grains a pound is a really, really solid number. It does everything you want it to do.
Yeah.
That's what I think. You know?
Okay.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a hunting arrow or I find them to fly steadier on the field range too. You shoot a 10 grains per pound. It's just a steady shooting arrow, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I might go up to 12 if I know I'm going to be shooting hogs or something, pig hunting. Whitetail deer, 10 grains a pound is way on top of the job for whitetail deer. Pig hunting, I like to get maybe 12 grains a pound for pig hunting. Maybe even bigger than that, because I'm going to shoot short distance. Yeah, exactly. They're tough. They're just tough. You know? Yeah.
And I mean, because of the Asiatic bows and so on, you know, these guys shot the kind of Olympic distances, the York round, and what they had was English longbows.
Yeah,
90 meters. So it's quite a distance you can hit with.
Of course. I mean, but it's simply the Koreans, they have their target on 145 meters.
Yeah.
So it's a Korean distance. And even in the old Chinese manuals for the generals, when they had this shooting, they had to shoot 160 meters and they had 6 arrows and the target was 90 by 200 centimeters. So like human shape. And they had to hit or scratch it with 2 out of 6 arrows at 160 meters. So they had their distance and they had still heavy arrows. So that's why these Manchu bows can kick a heavy arrow and you draw a little longer. So you don't draw only 30 inches. You can draw a Manchu bow up to 34, 35 inches.
And
so
Armin,
the string is longer in contact with the arrow.
Are they doing this still today with this 160 meters?
They shortened it then because the people got a little weaker. Now it's 70 meters or something.
Okay. Oh, that's what I believe.
The Koreans came over to Denton Hill maybe 20 years ago when I was there, and they maybe 15 years ago, maybe. And they set up a Korean target up the hill, and that was pretty close to 150 meters.
Yeah, 140.
Pretty close.
Yeah, 45.
And they had one guy there that could hit it whenever he wanted to. And it was a big white. It was like a white sheet with a red.
Yeah.
Like
2 by 2
meters in the center.
in the middle.
About 2 by 2 meters. Yeah. I was in Southern Korea.
It was big, you know, but I watched it, and the guy that was shooting was an older man, and he could hit it pretty much when he wanted to.
Yeah. I was in South Korea and I saw it there. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Shooting off the other side of the bow with a thumb release.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't think he could hit it when I saw him set it up. I thought, and he could hit it pretty at will. I don't know if he could hit the red spot at will, but hey, if he can hit the white blanket at 150 meters, I'm impressed. Well, it's just like with Byron, right? I've shot with Byron, so has everybody else. And Byron says to me, "Why do you come and see me when I go? You've watched this show I don't know how many times." I say, "Because I'm still impressed."
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, you're a pretty good shot." I says, "Yeah, but I can't go on stage like you, tell everybody what you're going to do and then do it."
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's okay saying you can do it, but just say you're going to do it, then get up on stage and then do it. It's different.
When
And he
Jim,
impresses me.
when Byron was first time not in Germany, I think we met in Germany. We two. One, but when Byron was first in Austria, it was in 2010. He gave a show, and then 3 days, a television channel filmed a kind of if he could do Robin Hood shots because there was this Russell Crowe Robin Hood, quite new, and Byron shot and I was honored to be on set. I didn't know him back then, but he knew me because I bought the copyright of his book for the German language, and so he invited me to be on set, and I watched him all the day, and he switched arrows. He shot with field points, with blunt points. Then he had to cut a gallows rope, like in the Robin Hood movie. And they started, I know it for sure, at 48 meters. And he switched from the blunt arrow or the target arrow to a 220 grain Massey broadhead arrow. The broadhead alone had 220 grain. And he shot at that rope. He missed 1 inch to the left, 1 inch to the right. Then they went closer because he should cut the rope. It was for the movies. It was not, But in elevation, he was from the first shot, middle of the rope, So at 50 yards, with every shot, he would have killed a deer. He would have had the heart of a deer with every shot. And he just switched from shooting 6 meters to shooting 50 meters and changing the arrow. And so that's where I saw he's a really good shot.
He's a hell of a shot. But like I said, he not only is a good shot, he tells you what he's going to do, then he goes does it.
And then he's doing it.
Right.
Incredible.
Yes, we also talked a lot about that. There are a lot of people doing something in video clips and so on, but to go on stage, it's a different kind of pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to have the confidence to do it too. Yeah.
Byron says
we play not together. We used to do it at the shows at we used to do the deer and turkey shows. So I always had a little place to shoot, and me and Byron would get together, try and shoot each other's knocks off just to warm up for his show. That's where I got familiar with Byron.
Byron once told me a funny story when you found out about the Luminog arrows. When you first picked them up, Byron said he was so surprised and so amazed. He shot all afternoon long with the lighted arrows. And he's funny too. Byron is funny too. He's a really nice guy.
I saw him at the Howard Hill shoot. I saw him at the Howard Hill shoot.
And he's humble. He's humble. On the other hand, he's like, I'm Mr. Byron and I can hit it. But you have to be like that.
But he's never come over that way to me, ever.
No, but in himself, he's like that in himself.
He's got to have that confidence.
You have to have it, otherwise it's not going to work.
Confidence.
No.
But he's
and also in the shows, he says, I try if I can hit this. He's not saying I'm the best. He says, let's see if I can hit it.
But as you see Byron, he's out every time, and I've seen Byron for a lot over a number of years, and he has never ever been any different than when you see him.
No,
He's one of them people that they call the Southern gentleman. And
Yeah,
he just is.
yeah,
He is that guy.
Yeah.
He lives that, and he just is that guy. He just
Yeah.
is.
yeah, he lives it. That's true.
Yeah. He's that guy.
And you know, when we were there in the hotel in Austria where he had the show and we didn't know each other, and I said after the show, I said to him, Byron, would you like to have a beer? And he said, you pay? I said, of course I pay. Of
Well,
course
yeah.
I pay. But I'd like to tell you that. Then 1 week after he went home, he wrote me an email. He likes to invite me to go hunting with him at the Goodman Ranch and so on. I said, oh, it's too expensive and so on. He said, no, it's in my area and my hunting grounds and so on. And he never let me pay anything. I said, I like to pay the meal. I like to pay the beverage. No. Like you say, Southern gentleman. When he was our guest, he said, you pay the beer. But when I was on his place,
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
and these are all gentlemen, you know, because Mike Goodman, when he found out I liked, Byron invited me to sleep in his trailer with him, so I hadn't to pay anything for a room. When Mike Goodman found out you like to sleep in Byron's trailer, he said, yes. He snorts. No, don't do it. He had a ranch and said, one room for Mr. Pete. I said, oh heaven, if I have to pay this, I thought by myself, but he never charged me anything. We eat there, we drank there. No, really nice guys, really nice guys. Like the Americans are. I mean, I tell you.
The American way, of course.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not all of them are like this. But of course,
You
these are
wouldn't, Jim, you wouldn't believe what in Austria and in Germany are haters of America. Really, it's an anti-American propaganda. It comes from the East, you know, from the DDR, GDR, or how is it called? And this propaganda is still around. Americans are stupid and they just like to rule the world and so on. And I always say, have you ever been there? Have you ever been there in the South? Just go to the South and look.
Well, it's the same. It's the same up here. You come up here in Michigan hunting, somebody's going to take you hunting.
Yeah.
And you'll be invited to the hunting camp, and you can drink your beer and whiskey, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's like you said with this series, the Yellowstone, when you said that the people from California and from New York, they are these extra special ones.
You know that serial with Kevin Costner, Yellowstone, Jim?
I've heard of it. I don't watch TV.
Watch it
for 2.5 years.
I also don't watch TV, but I look it on my laptop on a kind of streaming, you know, a really nice serial. And all the bad guys and the crazy guys are from New York or from California.
There you go.
On
Truth in TV for a change.
And the second recommendation for a serial is The Sun, featuring Pierce Brosnan, and it is in Texas when they found the first oil there. So around in the 20s, 30s, and so. And the Pierce Brosnan was, as a kid, he was kidnapped by the Comanches. A really nice serial, really nice. So you miss something if you don't look these wonderful serials. Really, Yellowstone.
Pick them up on my iPad or something.
Yeah, The Sun, and the second one is Yellowstone. Very nice, very nice. Yellowstone, they filmed it on a ranch. I think it's called Chief Joseph Ranch or so. I googled it up in Montana. You won't believe it. If you see that, this is wonderful. Yeah. Okay.
Jim, Cody. Oh yes, your knife.
Oh.
Yeah, of course, knife of the week. Yes.
Knife of the week.
Ooh,
This is one my dad made me a long time ago,
wow.
Wow.
and it's been all over the place with me hunting. My dad made this knife,
Been through a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
and it's made out of actually it's a German butcher's knife,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
a company called Dix in Germany.
Dix, yeah.
Yeah.
F
And-
Dick, I think.
Yeah.
F Dick. Yeah.
So my dad went to our local butcher's where I was born and raised in a small town, and this knife had been broken off, and he was using it to hold the door open in the summertime. That's what he was using. And my dad looked at it a couple of times.
Mm.
So he said to him, "Hey, if I make you a doorstop, can I have?" So
Nice.
my dad said he got ebony and laminated it up and made him a real fancy doorstop. And he got the knife, and he made this knife for me out of that butcher's knife.
Pretty cool.
So it's pretty special to me. Is this?
Of course.
It's been around with me a lot. And he made the sheath. You know, my dad made the sheath, and
Wow, looks really nice, and really like the old west, you know, that mule skin or that skinner knife.
well, that's what it was. It's for hunting and skinning.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, it'll
Nice.
skin
Nice.
good.
nice
And you
blade.
can sharpen it with a butcher's stone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really,
or with that steel, you know.
I have
Yeah.
a couple of steels, yeah, and that's really good for hunting. He was right. My dad said, and it's always sharp. It's easy to sharpen.
Well, and it's
So
always
that's
nice
my
to have a
knife.
blade with a history. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
a
I don't know
story.
how old the blade is. I don't know how old the blade is.
Doesn't
My
matter.
door, my doorstop knife.
Yeah, right.
The doorstop replacement. So,
Yeah, I said to my, where do you get the blade from, Dad? Oh, it was holding the door back from, the butcher's up in town.
wow.
Good story.
Yeah, nice story. Yeah. You have a knife, Peter? I don't have a knife because I put
I
it
have one.
away.
You don't have one. I have a German one too, and it's an old Puma hunting folding
Puma.
knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, I don't know if you know it, Jim. These are typical German and Austrian hunting knives, and this one has this second, like a gutting, how you
Yeah.
call it, gutting blade, which is dull on the point, so you won't cut the, the intestines, or how you call it. Yeah, and the most important for most important for
For the wine.
Germans and Austrians is the wine opener. Yeah, and this one, a little story is also behind. It has a third blade, and it was a saw, but it was broken off. So a friend of mine took it apart, and now it's more slim and nice, sturdy.
And it locks. It's good. Good
Yeah,
knife.
locks good. Yeah,
That's
nice
important,
hunting
yeah.
knife. Yeah, and stag handle. I like it.
Stag handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
My Puma has a stag handle, but it's the solid knife. It's the camp knife.
The money knife.
Right.
Like they said about Howard's bow, not the money bow, money knife.
Yeah, I've had that Puma a long time too.
Yeah.
They like them in the United States, the Puma knives.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they're good. I think it's Solingen steel. I think it is.
Yeah. And all they have a kind of red dot on the blade where they made that Rockwell test with a kind of, I don't know, diamond, or I don't know. And you have this little dent in every one of these Puma knives where they're testing the hardness of the steel.
Hardwell. Rockwell hardness.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool,
Yeah,
man.
cool.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, pretty cool. One other thing, Cody Lee just sent me 2 photos of a bow he got from you, and it's a copy of a Grumley. Grumley? What was his name?
Grumley.
Grumley bow, and it has on the recurves at these wedges inside there. Is purpose, benefits, downsides?
They call them brush knocks.
Okay.
So that when you're going through the brush, it doesn't get stuck in the string.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole idea of that.
Okay, but you add.
But it was a static recurve. The recurve was static.
Exactly.
So when you pulled it back, it was like a cam.
Mm-hmm.
So they put the brush knock on the back,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the idea of the brush knock, was to stop twigs and stuff getting stuck up in
Mm-hmm.
the static recurve. That was the
Okay.
idea of it. I don't know how much it really helped, because I'm sure they'll get stuck in the string anyway, but that's what they call them, brush knocks.
Yeah.
And it gave it a little, and it pulled that recurve from here to like this with the spring on. Because it's like the bridge on the Asiatic bows.
Yeah, yeah.
It does a similar thing to the bridge. It pulls, it gives that recurve, it just stiffens that recurve right up, straightens it up, gives it a bit more of a cam action.
But it adds a little weight to the tips, obviously. So
yeah, it adds a little weight to the tips. They were the Grumley bows were the first recurve bows here, and he made them for Fred Bear. The original Bear archery bows would say Bear Archery by Grumley. So the first ones, and they were all wood. They made lemon wood backed with hickory, and they also made a hickory with a U core and an Osage back.
wow.
And these were the first, in total, the first recurve bows in the United States?
For sale by an archery company that I know. I'm not saying they're the first recurves, but to actually
I understand.
a major archery company and Ben Pearson was about the same time. You're talking 1930s. They were doing this, 30s and 40s.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were expensive.
I'm
$25 and $49, I think they were.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I told Armin I have a book, a kind of biography of Fred Bear, and there's a picture of Nelson Grumley in his workshop doing something, and he wore a shirt with, iron and a tie, like a real gentleman. He worked in his workshop.
Well, Frank Scott was there when Nels Grumley worked at Detroit, and I talked to Frank about it. Yeah, he was at the front. He was a retail guy at the shop, and Nels Grumley was making bows in the back for Fred in Detroit when it was Bear Archery Detroit, when Fred went on his own.
Because when, I don't know if it's right, but what I read about that, Fred Bear himself started making leather goods for archery. He wasn't a bow guy in that kind in the first place. I don't know if it's true like that.
Well,
but the company started with quivers and so.
Absolutely right. The story goes, he met a guy that was shooting a bow called Art Young.
Yes, I heard about that story.
And they were shooting at the Detroit Archery Club, which was the second or third floor of an old Ford building, is where they used to shoot. And Fred was already an automotive engineer, and he had a business, and they made, I don't know if it was leather goods. I'm sure there was some leather goods, but they made rumble seat stuff. They made the roofs for the old Dodge cars. They made covers for the wheels because they were outside, and some other stuff. That's what they were making. And then he started making arrows and quivers, and that's where our Bear Archery started. But they were still working for Dodge.
Okay.
They were still doing work for Dodge too. They were still building these parts for the cars.
Part-time job.
And then Fred. He had a partner. There were two people, and then Fred decided to split and start doing archery full time. And the guy, I don't know what happened to the other guy. I don't know what happened. And then Nels Grumley came along, and Nels was making bows for him. I think the first archery catalog for Fred Bear was in the 30s, where the first archery catalog for Ben Pearson was in the 20s. Ben Pearson was before Bear Archery.
Yeah. Interesting. Because you mentioned Arthur Young, I don't know if it's true, but we don't know a lot about him. No, I don't know what his profession was. I don't know what.
The violinist.
No, really. Once I read he was a kind of a journalist, or I don't know.
He could play the violin. I know he did.
Yes, he
something else.
could play, but was it his profession?
I don't know. I don't know about that, but there's very little written about him, but he didn't write a lot about himself either.
No, I know. Yeah,
Where Saxton Pope wrote a lot about himself.
and from all I read about him, he was an exceptional sportsman, a shot with rifle and pistol, a master shot, and a swimmer and runner and everything he could do.
Well, so was
But-
Howard. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know his profession, what he did. Because he had to afford to go on this big journey to Africa with Dr. Pope. It was not cheap back then, no? And you had to
No.
spend a lot of time, I think 6 months they were.
There's a book out called Lions in the Path.
I have it.
Read it.
I have it.
That's the story of Art Young and Saxton Pope in Africa.
Yeah, yeah. And the same stories in The Adventurous Bowman by Saxton Pope.
Yeah, they're a little different version of them, but they're the same stories.
Yeah, yeah. That's the interesting thing because it's from two perspectives, from Stuart Edward White and from Saxton Pope.
Archers in Africa. Yeah.
Yep. No, Archer in Africa is Bill Negley.
Bill
The
Nighy.
Adventurous Bowman is,
The Adventurous Bowman, right? That's that.
and you know,
He wrote another one. I have another one of his called Bows and Arrows by Saxton Pope too.
I have it. There was a kind of reprint Gene Wenzel did, where he put together Saxton Pope's rarest works, and there was this a study in bow and arrows, and I don't know what you just call it.
Just
Which
Bows
one?
and Arrows by Saxton Pope. I have the
Yeah,
original.
yeah.
I'm lucky that I got a lot of these original when nobody really wanted them. So I have Hunting with a Bow and Arrow, which was probably one of the best books I ever read. Hunting with a Bow and
Yeah,
Arrow, Saxton
yeah,
Pope.
yeah. When it was the first book, you know, there was some book in German language around about target shooting and stuff like that, and Olympic shooting. And the first, it was translated back then in Germany. I read it. Oh, well, that's it. I started to making my own arrows, and I dreamed about an English longbow like Saxton Pope had, and I built me the exact quiver he pictured in this book and so on. I was hooked by Saxton Pope, in fact. Yeah, very nice.
A few years ago, I was given a German book from a guy from the GRD, is it GDR? And he had a bow and arrow, and he wrote a book. That was pretty interesting. Right after the Second World War.
You know the name
It's
of the
Google.
guy? Do you know the name?
I'd have to dig the book out. I'll find the book somewhere. I'll dig out the book and I'll send you a.
Yeah. Now maybe we can make another show when you love to get back to our show in some days, some weeks or so. We can do it again. Maybe we can talk about books and old stuff. And
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I've got a lot of good books. I've got a lot of archery books. As good as anything.
Interesting. Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
It's been a big part of my life is archery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been shooting 62 years according to what my dad told me, but like I said, I don't remember I kind of remember shooting with him, but I don't remember how old I was. I know I was a little kid, but I don't have no concept of age or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, then let's do this next time. Then you can compare.
Yeah.
Talk about
All
books.
right. Trifecta. All right.
Right.
All right, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
And shall we leave it for today?
Yes.
Ready?
Yeah, I got to go and do some work.
Yeah. So yeah, we kept you already quite a long time now. Yeah. I'm sorry for
Was
that.
nice talking,
But
Jim.
it's never ending, and it's always so interesting because you have so much knowledge, and especially of this history. It's so interesting to talk to you. That's why for us, time is,
Thank you.
but you are of course limited. We understand. So we just invite you simply.
Thank you for your time,
Yes,
Jim.
really, thank you very much, Jim.
problem.
We really appreciate
Pleasure.
that you are on.
All right.
Okay, then go and do your work.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
See next
Goodbye.
time.
See you later.
Thank you,
Ciao, ciao.
Jim.
Bye-bye.
Bye.